guys, August 15th. This may very well be the last whiteboard session that you and I get in together for the next week or so, because as of tomorrow I'll be in Mount Shasta. So I wanted to share some news stories that have come my way for you guys. First of all, let's talk about all of the fallout from those protests that occurred in Virginia a few days ago. First thing I have written up here is all the CEOs that are basically quitting the Trump administration. So Donald Trump had what he called a manufacturing council. It was an advisory board of a bunch of different corporate CEOs to help him with his economical decisions and whatnot. Well, a bunch of those CEOs on that council quit. The CEO of Merck quit, the CEO of Intel quit, and a lot of other CEOs had some pretty negative things to say simply because Donald Trump didn't instantly respond and decry the white nationalists and the Nazis and yada yada yada, or as per, CNN says so. And you know what I have to say about that? Good, right? Screw Merck, that company making all the toxic vaccines being injected into humans, and screw Goldman Sachs, right? Because the Goldman Sachs CEO, Lloyd Blankfein, was another one of those that criticized Donald Trump, so don't even worry about that. Next, we have this interesting news story that I just found today, and it says federal prosecutors pursue information on Trump opponents, and this is interesting, and I'm curious as to see where this will lead to, because what this says here in this article by CNN, a web hosting provider is fighting back against a search warrant that it claims would require them to turn over information on visitors to a website used to organize protest against Donald Trump, right? Well, here's the thing. A lot of those protest organizers, especially the ones that are anti-Trump that have gone on, since his inauguration essentially, it's most likely the case that a lot of those organizers are funded by corporations and or people, George Soros, that don't want to be named, that don't want to be exposed. So that's why I'm curious as to see where this might go, right? The federal prosecutors are digging up information on who the heck is funding all of these like Antifa organizations and protests and whatnot. So we'll keep our eye on that. And another news story, also, I found this one on CNN. MSM, so the mainstream media, and this is the title, this is the article of it, right? White nationalists are planning 9 rallies nationwide this weekend alone. Interesting. When you skim a little bit more of this article, it discusses how the largest scheduled rally is called the March on Google, which will take place in 9 cities, and the aim of the protest is to basically speak their voice about the firing of the Google employee, James Damore, over that controversial memo. So this really has nothing to do, these protests have nothing to do with white nationalists, with Nazis, or the alt-right, or whatever. It's just basically anti-Google protests. So, the corporate media has to label basically any protest that comes up that's not anti-Trump as being white nationalist, right? If it's an especially anti-Google, right? Google's not only cracking down on YouTubers and alternative media, but now since there's protests against them, they have to crack down on those protests. Shoot, if you're protesting, you're a Nazi, right? It's basically what the logic is coming out of the mainstream media these days. So, anyway, if you're in any of those 9 cities, be careful. There could very well be paid provocateurs and a lot of violence purposely incited in the crowds there. So anyway, I'm all for protesting Google, but be careful if you're at one of those places. And then let's talk about some tweets that Donald Trump set out. So there's a couple pretty funny ones. So Donald Trump put out a picture of basically a train, the Trump train, and it was running over a person that had a CNN emblem in front of their face. And, this picture, it's basically just Trump train running over CNN. But then, of course, the corporate media, they have a shit show and they basically say, oh, Donald Trump posts a picture of a guy dying. It was a guy dying getting hit by a train. No, it wasn't. It was the symbolization of the whole company. But, you know, they have a shit show with it. And then Donald Trump also retweeted a tweet by Posobiec, James Posobiec, I believe. I follow him on Twitter. He's a pretty well... He knows what's going on. Excuse me, Jack Posobiec. And what happened, this is really funny. So his screen name on Twitter is CNN is fake news, right? And Donald Trump retweets a tweet of his. Of course, the corporate media, right? They just, again, have another shit show with this tweet. And the tweet was innocent. It was simply saying, you know, 39 people died over the weekend in Chicago. Why isn't the mainstream media reporting that? Why are they reporting this one death that happened at these protests? Well, you know, leading us to think, well, yeah, of course, they must have a narrative. They must have an agenda behind it, right? The corporate media then had their shit show, and they were claiming that Donald Trump retweets this conspiracy theorist who's into Pizzagate and Seth Rich and all this shit. Trump retweets alt-media figure who pushed Pizzagate and Seth Rich conspiracy theories. So they're using any chance they get to get at Donald Trump. They're using any chance they got to spin their narrative about the conspiracy theories, right? To try to quell those. And just a bunch of nonsense, man. It's getting like the most blatant. It's like a new low every day. You don't think it can get much worse, and it just does somehow. So, I mean, in my head, I'm like, how close are we to something big happening if they're all getting this desperate where they have to make all these crazy stories like that? But anyway, I'm sick of talking about Trump. I'm sick of talking about the mainstream media in a negative light. Let's talk about, or let's just ask the question, what are they distracting us from, right? All this stuff came out, 3-4 days ago about these protests. North Korea sure left in the news quick. I just want you to understand that, right? I mean, people are looking at the mainstream media and they're all fired up. They're thinking World War III is going to happen or Civil War II or yada yada yada. If you just simply shut off your TV and look at what's right in front of you, I don't know anybody who's racist. I know a lot of black people. If I just focus on what's going on around me, it doesn't even exist, right? There's no world war going on. There's nothing happening. So you just have to understand that just because you see it on the news doesn't mean that's the way it is. But North Korea sure nuts lose quick. And then Debbie Wasserman Schultz, right? I just Googled her name. There was a lot of news stories, you know, August 8th, August 10th, August 12th even, you know, 3-4 days ago, before all these protests and all this white nationalist outrage started. There were a lot of stories kind of throwing Debbie Wasserman Schultz under the bus. Well, convenient, right? These protests really drowned out that. And then also Hillary Clinton's investigations. Again, I Googled her name. New York Post a couple days ago. Comey botched the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Hillary Clinton Benghazi email investigation not over yet. Clinton email case far from closure as SBI hands over more. So now, why do you think there were protests? Wow! That investigation is not done. There's a lot of stuff that has yet to blow up that hasn't even been reported because everybody's worried about this. Worried about all the white nationalist bullshit. So, understand, when crazy stuff goes on, especially the shit that's funded by the globalists, what are they distracting you from? Always ask that question. And then lastly, you know, while we were talking a bunch of crap about the mainstream media over here, I do want to give a +1 big old thumbs up in my book to Salon. Never thought I would say that. Salon.com, The Federalist, and Fox. Because these 3 mainstream outlets actually reported some cool stories that I actually found positive, helpful, right? Salon.com, they posted an article that says, what if the DNC Russian hack was really a leak after all? And they actually said a new report raises questions that the media and Democrats would rather ignore. Holy crap, right? Salon.com posted this. So this begs the question, again, I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, we must be getting close to something big, right? Well, Salon.com has always been a piece of crap news agency, right? Just another one of those corporate media rags. So the fact that they would go and report an article with a headline like this must mean that they're so lacking in viewers that now they're trying to report the truth, right? What if that's the case? Boom, there you go. Or what if, and I've made this case before in other videos, there are mainstream media organizations who are getting infiltrated by the alliance, or who have people embedded in their organizations that do want to get the truth out. This might be the case of that, right? You can never, just because it's mainstream media, you can't automatically say everything is false and everything is going to be false coming out of that organization, right? You gotta critically think here. So this is big coming out of Salon, right? Maybe we'll see more of this. I really hope that's the case. And then Federalist and Fox, the reason they get the +1s is because they reported on human trafficking. So they reported on the stuff that needs to be reported on, you know, albeit they didn't link any large, you could say, elitist or government and political people to this issue, to human trafficking, but they reported on it. They're seeding the consciousness into people's brains. They're getting this issue out in the open. The Federalist said, at Las Vegas's Mayweather and McGregor fight, human trafficking might happen right in front of you. So they're getting you to think about it. Very good. So big +1 to the Federalist. And then Fox also reported about human trafficking and its connections to social media and the internet, and how social media apps like Instagram and Snapchat and whatnot are making it real easy for human traffickers and people into that stuff do their dirty deeds. So, you know, awesome that they expose it. Definitely much more to be exposed, especially like her involvement in human trafficking, but we're getting there. I think they're prepping people's brains for bigger disclosures that we have coming very soon. So anyway, bunch of news for you guys today. Thank you all for your support, especially you guys who are helping out on PayPal, Patreon, and using that little Amazon link. I always have those things below in the description. You guys make all of this possible. Stay tuned, because in a couple days I will be doing some live videos and whatnot from Shasta. So stay tuned, guys. You got a lot more coming your way. Peace.